Joe Biden's cognitive decline is back in the news. Remember last year when his team kept constantly saying behind closed doors that he was sharp as a tack?
He's sharp, he's focused, he's bright.
I don't have any concerns, and that's from personal interactions.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever. Not a close second.
Alert, sound.
I mean, the Republicans are like good at distractions.
And then we were all told that we should be ashamed for asking questions because what we were all seeing with our own two eyes wasn't really happening. Even the mainstream media bought into that delusion back then. But now, boy, have things changed, because now more media outlets are reporting what was once kept secret, including CNN's Jake Tapper. In his new book, Original Sin, Tapper reveals the White House's efforts to conceal Biden's physical decline during the re-election campaign. Imagine that. Well, here's how he's now looking back at the president's fall from grace. Watch this.
That's why I wanted to convene this cabinet meeting.
That was just one of 3 cabinet meetings President Biden held in 2023. And in 2024, the president would hold only one. We spoke with several cabinet secretaries for the book, and this period of time is what one of the secretaries called the weird period, detailed in a brand new excerpt of my upcoming book with Axios' Alex Thompson. It says, the presidency requires someone who can perform at 2 a.m. during an emergency. Cabinet secretaries in his own administration told us that by 2024, he could not be relied upon for this. The book is based on more than 200 interviews, mostly with Democratic insiders, almost all of which occurred after the 2024 election was over. And it provides a striking look at how the circle of people with access to the president grew smaller and smaller in the last 2 years of his term.
You talk to my staff, all of you talk to my staff. Sometimes my staff talks a lot.
Shrinking so small that ultimately most cabinet secretaries were not included, people who Biden lauded for what they could bring to the country.
It's a cabinet that's battle-tested, qualified, experienced, creative, innovative, and forward-looking.
Despite the earlier praise, the third cabinet secretary we spoke with told us that starting in 2023, quote, for months we didn't have access to him. There was clearly a deliberate strategy by the White House to have him meet with as few people as necessary. That cabinet secretary adding that from October 2023 on, quote, the cabinet was kept at bay, with few exceptions. Those with national security roles, for example, such as Secretary of State Blinken and Defense Secretary Austin.
It is my honor to introduce the President of the United States.
And it was not just cabinet members who were kept away from the president. Aides who had once seen Biden regularly say they went months without seeing him. Others told us that in some meetings, Biden would mumble incoherently, something the public only got glimpses of.
It is used to make the brew beer in this refiner.
The first cabinet secretary we spoke with told us they thought at some point these restrictions were about control. Yes, the president is making the decisions, but if the inner circle is shaping them in such a way, is it really a decision? They told us. Are they leading him to something? The third cabinet secretary told me they shielded him in every meeting. They always wanted to keep him happy. They would say, don't say that, don't tell him that. They always wanted to shield him from bad news. But at other times, it seemed the inner circle was doing everything they could to hide the extent to which Biden was diminished. During one rare meeting during that time, the third cabinet secretary told me they were shocked by how the president was acting. He seemed, quote, disoriented and, quote, out of it. I don't think he has dementia, said cabinet secretary number 2. But the thing is, he's an old man. The president can give you 4 to 6 good hours a day. When he got tired, sloppy isn't the right word, but his guard was down. The third cabinet secretary later reminisced, quote, the staff did him wrong. If you were with him every day and you knew this was a problem, why didn't you go to him and say something? As for the second cabinet secretary, if he had asked me, they said, I would have told him, do 1 term and you're done, to preserve your legacy. They would all later learn that they were far from the only ones with these concerns.
Well, isn't that something? Joining us now is Cenk Uygur, host of the Young Turks. Great to see you again. So Jake Tapper in his new book is now making it out as if he had no idea what was going on back then, but it was all being openly talked about, wasn't it? Here's an interview from 2020 with Laura Trump.
I I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You are
to
no
watch somebody on stage
I can't,
search for
that's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me that
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
Can't diagnose his cognitive decline. Cenk, he had his chance to shed some light on this years ago. So why is he changing his tune now?
Yeah, this is what the press does all the time. So after the Iraq War, they were like, oh, golly gee, it turns out we got lied to. Is that really what happened? Or did you want the same lie to be published? And 7 out of 10 Americans thought that Saddam Hussein personally attacked us on 9/11. We got lied into that war. And here we are again with Biden. And and Kris, you got to understand, it's not just that mainstream media was taken aback. They didn't know, oh my God, they don't have eyes, they don't have ears. What do you expect them to be, reporters? Right? Like, how did I know from the outside? And, you know, we did a petition to get Biden out of the race back in 2023 on the Young Turks. I ran as a protest candidate against them. And why did I do that? Because I wanted Trump to win? No. It's because I didn't want Trump to win. And I thought we needed a strong candidate and not one in mental decline. His mental decline was super obvious. But when we said that, the top pushback we got was not from Democratic operatives. It was from mainstream media. It was from anchors like Jake Tapper, who would look at you with derision and go, oh, cognitive decline. What do you mean? What do you mean? The guy can't finish sentences. He's shaking hands with invisible people. You'd have to be blind, deaf, and dumb not to see it. And now so this pretend outrage at Biden, like, oh, we've been duped. It turns out there's gambling in this establishment. No, you knew all along, or at least, at the very, very least, you should have known. And don't call yourself a reporter if you couldn't figure out the most obvious fact in America.
And now Jake Tapper stands to make money on it by selling a book. Did the press turn a blind eye, or were they complicit in keeping Biden's health under wraps here?
Okay, see, now that's the most important question, because I believe people misunderstand mainstream media. So the folks in mainstream media and in Washington think, oh, they're wonderful, they're angels, they're just trying to do objective journalism, right? And then on the right, you guys, well, I shouldn't say you guys, but folks think that they're like some sort of liberal tricksters and they're trying to figure out how to help Democrats. No, what they are is basically servants of power. So whoever's in power, with the exception of outsider populists like Trump or Bernie Sanders, if you're in the establishment, you have mega power, right? And mainstream media will serve that power. So if it was, let's say, Mitch McConnell, they would have done the same things. In fact, they did do the same things. They minimized the fact that he would just freeze there and just, I mean, it was the most awkward thing I've ever seen. After he freezes once or twice in public, all of the press should be saying, well, obviously he has to retire. He can't function. Dianne Feinstein being wheeled around when she was absolutely gone, couldn't answer a single question. And the mainstream media made no big deal out of it. No big deal at all. Joe Biden, again, in absolute, not just in obvious mental decline, but the whole country can see it. Yet mainstream media comes out and goes, no, the powerful are right. And we will help them, because if anyone who's an outsider questions whether Biden's in decline, we'll yell at them, we'll sneer at them, we'll say that they're just conspiracy theorists, right?
Oh yeah.
So no, it's maddening how mainstream media serves power.
So why do you think that more people on the left were so unwilling to believe what they were seeing with their own eyes?
Yeah, so look, we've gotten so tribal in this country. So in my opinion, in the first Trump term, if you were on the right and you dared disagree with Trump, you were a heretic, you were going to be driven from the party, and you were going to be driven from right-wing media. You were going to lose your job for sure, okay? Now, in this term, it's actually a little bit different. But on the left, we had the same kind of tribalism. And on the left, they say, oh, yeah, the other guys are a cult. But you're not allowed to disagree with any Democrat ever, ever, ever. And if you do, we're going to call you a Trump supporter, MAGA, et cetera. Well, you're doing the same thing the other side did. That's cult-like behavior. So, and where did it come from? Again, it came from mainstream media. If you watched MSNBC for the last 10 years, they would have told you 1,000 times over that Democratic leadership are geniuses. Oh my God, the powerful Wizards of Oz. Hillary Clinton can't lose. Kamala Harris can't lose. Joe Biden is young and dynamic. And unfortunately, they brainwashed people into actually believing that, even though you had overwhelming evidence to the contrary. They said Hillary couldn't lose, and then she lost. So, but that didn't snap them out of it. But both sides are getting overwhelming propaganda. Do not buy into hero worship. You should hold the powerful accountable no matter who's in charge, which party or which president.
Is it fair to ask whether those closest to the president failed him or even failed our country by not speaking up sooner?
Obviously, that's fair. I mean, it would be preposterous to say that that's not fair. Did the people who made this decision, his insiders, including, yes, his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, and yes, Hunter Biden. So did those guys prop Joe Biden up even though they knew that he was in mental decline? Well, there's now absolutely no question they knew he was in mental decline, because otherwise you wouldn't have hit him. And by the way, when he didn't do the Super Bowl interview in the beginning of 2024, that's when so many others joined what I was saying. That's when Axelrod came in, Carville came in, and so many others, because they realized that if you don't do the Super Bowl interview, which is the biggest interview and honestly the softest interview, that means you are not mentally capable of running. And meanwhile, they're hiding him from interviews, they're hiding him from cabinet members, they're hiding him from everyone. So that shows you that they had intent. They knew they were guilty. They knew they wanted to hold on to power, and they knew he was in mental decline, so they wanted to hide him. So not that he could stay in power, but so that they could stay in power. Bingo. They betrayed this country. They betrayed Biden, actually, and I've said that a lot. If he had retired when he was supposed to, the Democrats would have built statues of him across the country. Instead, now his legacy is absolutely destroyed. Yep. Those advisors were so hungry for power. They were greedy, and it wasn't for him, and it definitely wasn't for the Democratic Party. The people they betrayed the most were Democratic voters. They lied to them. They helped Trump get elected, all for their own greed.
We have less than 30 seconds, but I have to ask you, how do Democrats bounce back from this?
Look, it's both incredibly easy and hard. It's hard because they're not used to it, and they're just corporate machines now, but for most of them, but not all of them. But if you follow real populists like Ro Khanna and others in Congress, you go towards economic populism, you go towards FDR-style governance. Those policies, the populist policies that Democrats have, are actually intensely popular. They're so popular that a lot of Republican voters would say, well, I don't know if that's fair to call them Democratic policies. I really like those too, anti-war, anti-corruption, paid family leave, et cetera. So go towards economic populism and actually mean it. You have to mean it, and you have to do it. If a Democrat wins the presidency again, they cannot disappoint. If they disappoint and they go and do what their corporate donors want, they might not get another chance.
Cenk Uygur, thank you for the time. Great to see you again. We'll have to have you back soon.
Thank you.